I have had these two crochet kits sitting in my drawers gathering dust for well over a year now. Now, normally when I get my hands on crochet kits like this, as infrequently as that occurs, I do like to test them out a little bit, give them somewhat of a review, but in this instance, both of these kits came from the op shop, and like under those circumstances, I don't think it's quite fair to review them as I would a kit that came from, say, a retail store. And because that's the case, I have put off crocheting them so long because I wanted to come up with something fun we could do with them as an alternative. Full disclosure, I still don't know what that fun alternative is, but because they've been sitting there for so long and I want to get some use out of them, I thought in this video we might crochet them together. However, there has been a little bit of a hitch in my plans because with this first kit, the Pip and Patch puppies, all that is provided in it is some pretty terrible quality yarn and a couple of pairs of safety eyes. However, on the back of the packaging, there is a website that you can head to download the pattern. And upon seeing that, I enthusiastically headed to my laptop, typed in the website, and then, yeah, the pattern's no longer available. So while the idea of just crocheting these kits, or at least the dog one, is now off the table, what I thought we could do instead is crochet our own version of these puppy dogs and maybe make a few improvements along the way. That does mean I'm going to be setting the donkey one aside for now, but if you have an idea for some sort of, I don't know, challenge I could do with this one, let me know what that is down in the comments. For now, I'm just going to stick you over there. So looking at what we do have to work with, the only thing we have to work with is the picture on the front here. And like for what they are, they're pretty cute. But you know what? With a few small tweaks, I reckon we can make ourselves a new and improved version of the puppy dog. Now, given what the packaging says and portrays, I do think you are supposed to make 2 dogs from this kit, but I'm probably going to aim to make just the one because these guys, they're looking fairly tiny. I want to make something a little bit bigger than that, and if I do so, and also depending on how much I tweak the original pattern. Well, it's hard to say how much I'm going to tweak the original pattern seeing as I don't have access to the original pattern, but you know what I mean. So because of those factors, I just may not have enough yarn to make 2, so I'm just going to stick with the 1. Unfortunately, because I don't have access to that pattern, I don't know what size hook I should be using. Knowing the luck I've had with my previous pattern kit, it's probably a bloody 2mm hook. But I'm not putting myself through that torture. So I'm going to use a 3 just by the feel of this yarn. I think if I use my regular 4, it's just going to be a little bit too large, especially for amigurumi. So I'm willing to bump down to a 3, but no further. No more 2mm hooks. Only under very dire circumstances will I use a 2mm hook again. The first thing I want to do before I begin crocheting is just sort of sketch out the basic shape that I want. Sometimes with my crochet projects I like to go in blind, other times I like to have a bit of a reference image, sometimes I like to sketch it out myself, and today I feel in a bit of a sketching out mood, so that's what I'm going to do. It is more difficult than it should be though to find a blank page in my sketchbook, one that hasn't been, you know, enhanced with nibbling art, but I think we're just going to make do. So let's see, what sort of puppy do we want? A very rough sketch, but at least it gives me an idea of the shape, the look I'm going for. I want a like distinctive muzzle at the front here, not just sort of a fat sausage piece for the head and the muzzle. I would like long floppy ears. And also with the feet, or the legs I should say, I'm not just going to make them tubes like this. I do want to give them a little bit more shaping. The back legs here look like they've already done that, whether that's a popcorn stitch or a puff stitch or something like that. I'm probably going to go with like a similar approach. Maybe not popcorn stitch. If you've watched my videos for a while, you probably know that I do love myself a popcorn stitch. But you know what? It's probably time to try something new. So we might just mix it up today and go with a puff stitch. This, yeah, you can just tell this is not the highest quality yarn. But the big question is, how easily are you going to allow me to do a center pull? I'm willing to overlook the poor quality if you give me a good center pull. Not bad. Not bad at all. Now let's see how you crochet up and whether or not the 3mm hook was a good choice. Yeah, this is quite thin, this yarn. I'd be willing to put money on it was intended for a 2mm hook. Well, you can bugger off because I'm not doing that. This is what I got for the head so far. Looking at the piece from the side now, I reckon I might have made the muzzle a little bit too long, but I do find it's a lot easier to sort of like make those critiques once all the pieces are crocheted and the piece is assembled, because, you know, sometimes just bringing everything together like that, getting a full overview of the pattern, just, you know, helps to like determine what proportions work, what needs to be changed, etc., etc. So all that to say, I'm not going to frog this right now. If I need to make any changes, I will do so when I make the next version of this. But now I need to add in the safety eyes. The kit itself did provide some, as well as noses, I think. Let's have a squiz. Yeah, they certainly did. However, those eyes are tiny. I'm guessing that's about like a 6mm eye. And if I pop that in here, well, I don't know about you guys, but I think that might be a little bit too small. Just a fraction, just a fraction. So I will not be using the eyes that came with the kit. And like my assumption would be the nose is a bit too small as well. Although I don't think I would use it anyway. I'd prefer to embroider on a nose later on. But if we put that in the end there, it works better than the eyes did, but I still don't think I'm going to use it. At the very least, I may be able to use those up in another project sometime in the future. But I have instead grabbed out a pair of 14mm eyes. I would like the eyes for my puppy here to be, you know, fairly large. You know, lean into that puppy dog eyes trope. So I could bump these up to a 16mm as well, but I just want to check out how the 14mm look first. Another concern I have with using 16mm is actually getting them in this piece. Because I used the 3mm hook, the space between the stitches is not very large. I'm having difficulty just trying to get the 14s in there. What do you reckon? See, that's one reason I don't like adding safety eyes when, you know, the piece is only partially finished, because especially when you're creating a prototype of a pattern, it can be difficult to figure out where precisely they should be placed, or what is like the optimal position for them. For now, that will do. I will be needing to make another 1 or 2 versions of this, especially for like the written patterns. So if I don't like how it turns out, I will have a chance to change where I pop these. So back's on. And then from this point, I just need to continue decreasing down. I'll add a bit of stuffing, and that should do me for the head. I'm certainly vibing a bit more with the shape of the head now that I've added the stuffing. I was going to crochet the big floppy ears next, just because I wanted to be able to work with some colour and give the bland beige cream a rest. But I do think in order to size them correctly, I am going to need to make the body piece next, because once I have that, I can then like work out how far down that body piece I want the ears to be. Like if I consult my little sketch here, I've got them probably, I'd say, about a third of the way down the body. Now it doesn't have to be exactly that, but I would, you know, like to keep it as similar as I can. And it will be hard to know how far down a third of the body is if I haven't made the body. So unfortunately, I've got to stick with the boring beige for just a little bit longer, but then we can switch it up and get to the colour. While I did want to do some more work on this today, that 3mm hook is doing my hands absolutely no favors. So I think I'm going to call it there for today, and I will bring you guys back and we can crochet the other pieces maybe tomorrow. Now that I've finished off the beige head and body, I can start getting some colour all up in this project. But that means I've got to decide what colours I want to use. I've got pink, yellow, green and blue, and if we consult the packaging, it seems that they have been, or the two puppy dogs are divided into those colour groups. What I'm questioning, however, is I think I might have made my version larger than what is portrayed here. If I count the rows, or at least the visible rows, on the, let's go with the body, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I would estimate there's between about 14 and 15 rounds in the body, whereas mine here is 24. So the pieces are a little bit larger, which means I might not have enough of like these colours to do both the ears and all 4 of the feet. So do I make an attempt and try and use just these colours, or do I just like lean into the chaos and make a multicolored dog from the get-go? You know what, my impulse is to go with the green and the blue because, well, but I'm going to switch things up a bit today. We're going to go multicolored, and I reckon I will start with the ears. They might be easier just to get out of the way first. So let's pick out our first color for that. Maybe I'll do this blind. I'll just cover my eyes and pink. You know, between yesterday and today, I managed to forget, or perhaps repress, that I was working with a 3mm hook. That was a nasty surprise when I came in here to set up this morning. Choosing to use all the colours of yarn definitely turned out to be the right call, because after crocheting the ear, this is all the pink yarn I have left, and I really don't know if that would be enough to complete an entire foot. But we're going to hang on to that for now anyway, just in case we need a little bit of extra yarn for something later. But I have completed the first ear, and let me just pop that on the head, and we can get a better feel for the proportions of this thing. And I think that's pretty spot on. It's almost precisely what I wanted. A nice long floppy ear that was about a third of the length of the body. Nailed it. So I've got to make myself a second one of those. And after that it'll be the legs. And there could potentially be more crochet pieces after that. If, like, I need to do a tail, for example. But any sort of detail pieces, the amount of those that we make is going to depend on how much yarn we have left over. So that's just going to be a wait and see kind of thing. And I think we're going to go with green for the second ear. It really is kind of a shame that I don't have enough of the green and pink yarn to finish this entire thing, because like this color palette, it just works well together. The pink, the green, and the cream. Yeah, disappointingly, there's not much I can do about it. Even if I wanted to get some yarn out of my scrap bag instead, I don't think I have these precise colors. And even if I had something close, it wouldn't be in this weight yarn anyway. So we're gonna have to go with the blue and the yellow for the remaining pieces. But who knows? Maybe at some point in the future I can make a specific project that uses this color palette. It's not one I've really done before, I don't think. Not that I can remember, at least. But ears complete now. I can stop talking about our color palettes and move on to the next pieces, which are the legs. I am tossing up whether or not I should try and make just the first couple of rounds in the green and the pink, because I'm not doing the entire legs in whatever color. Or as is demonstrated on the packaging here, I'm just going to do like the foot pad in the color. So even if I get like just the front paws out of this, and then I can do the back paws in the blue and the yellow. You know what, we'll try it. We'll try and remain consistent for this pattern, even if it means I lose at yarn chicken and I have to frog a couple of rounds and substitute in another color. My goal with the feet here is to sort of like hit the Goldilocks sweet spot. I don't want these feet to be too small, but I do want them to be on the slightly larger size, just because like I find that so adorable in puppies, you know, when they've got their tiny little uncoordinated bodies and their big floppy paws. So I want to try and capture a little bit of that feel. And the crochet gods must be looking out for us today, because we won at Yarn Chicken. No way I'm getting a second pink paw from that, but hey, I'll take the one. I will take the one. Now I'm going to swap to my cream yarn, and then the rest of the leg is just going to be crocheted in that. While the shaping of the leg has turned out all right, let's compare it with everything else. So it's going to go about there. I'll pin it in place in a sec. I'm not loving the colored bit on the bottom. I just don't like that the top of the toes here are in pink. I would have liked those to be in cream, but in order to do that, I have to somehow make the top half of the puff stitches cream and the bottom half of the puff stitches pink. And outside of using a very specific variegated yarn, maybe, I don't know how you would do that. So I figure I may as well do a bit of experimenting while I'm making this prototype. And with the second leg, I'm going to try just doing the first, I think it was 3 rounds in the green, and then do the puff stitch round, which is what creates the toe beans, in the cream, and then compare that to this and just see which one I like better. If that doesn't work, with the hind legs, because I am probably going to be using the same pattern for the hind legs, I'm just going to make it maybe a bit shorter. I don't know. Like placing that where the hind legs would go now, I mean, that works well enough, but I want to get the 2 front legs in position first to, you know, compare and contrast. But with those hind legs, if I don't like either of the color changes in the front legs, I might add in like a little bit of a sock. So I'd extend the color change out to, say, here roughly. So the bottom portion of the foot would be it'll be either blue or yellow, and then the remainder of it will be in cream. And because I've got 2 hind legs to do, I can do one shorter sock, one longer sock, and then we just compare all the legs at the end and see which one looks the best. I'm still going to attempt the sock color change on the hind legs, but I had to tell you all that I do like this version of the color change better. I just think it looks better from like the top, the bottom, just all around. It's a better fit for this pattern, I think. Well, now we have ourselves a full set of dog legs. Last thing I've got to crochet is the tail. I must confess, I think I may have been a little bit too enthusiastic with the colour usage in the tail. I was only planning to do sort of like the tip in blue, but I kind of zoned out a little bit as I was crocheting, and I ended up doing quite a bit more than I intended to, and I couldn't be bothered frogging it. So yeah, it's the prototype. It's okay. I've made a note in my pattern, so I will fix that in the later versions. Regardless, the tail is now finished, which means I can begin the assembly process. I will also be adding a few details, but I don't know if I'm going to crochet anymore at this stage. So I will wait until it's all sewn together, and then we can decide. And with that, our little doggy friend is complete. Just for comparison's sake, original, my version. Normally at this point in a video like this, it is where I would give my opinion, my review of the kit. But as I said at the beginning, I don't think it's fair to do that in this circumstance because I did get this kit from the op shop. If I was going to do a review, I would say that the yarn quality was absolutely terrible, that the pattern was bloody broken, that I think it's really poor, that all you get in this kit is yarn and, you know, a couple of safety eyes. Alas, I'm not doing a review, so I won't say those things. But because I'm not doing a real review, I will turn my attention back to my little puppy dog here. I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. I think it's pretty cute, and even though I'm a little bit biased, I do think that it's cuter than the original here. Although I am partial to the name Pip. I think that's rather adorable for a little dog. So you know what? I'm going to officially dub you Pip the Rainbow Doggo. As is my usual MO when it comes to making a pattern, I do have some critiques of it, things I would like to change next time. For example, I don't know what was happening with the shaping of the tail here, and I don't know if that is a product of just the yarn being terrible. It was one of those yarns that was very splitty. The threads would come apart and they would like get snagged and tangled around my hook. It drives me nuts when that happens, and sometimes rather than fixing it, I've just like head down, carry on, ignore it. And I did that in a couple of instances in this pattern and in a few spots in the tail. So I don't know if the issue is the shaping, the splitty yarn, or a combination of both. But either way, I don't really like what's going on here. That shape could be a lot smoother, so that is something that I would like to fix. One thing I did try in this pattern was omitting stuffing from the thigh portions of all four of the legs, just because when you're sewing a piece down that has stuffing included, sometimes it can be a little bit bulky, and I didn't really want that in this situation. But now, having done so, I think I prefer the slightly more bulky look. So that experiment failed a little bit, but I'm glad I tried it out at least. And when I go to make the second version of this for the written pattern, you know, I can fix that. No issues there. And as you saw, I did go ahead and make all four legs, you know, different in terms of their color changes. I did the pink one initially, which I didn't really like. Then I changed it to the green version, which I liked a lot better. But I also did two different sock variants. And to be honest, I like both of those. I can't see why you couldn't have, you know, two different length socks on each foot. So I'm probably just going to leave that as is for the proper, quote unquote, proper pattern. Yeah, I like that. I definitely don't like the pink one. I like the the green. But also, I suppose, when it comes to the written pattern, you can do whatever you want with it. You can customize it the way you like. But outside of that, I am mostly pleased with how this pattern came together. I am still on the fence when it comes to the details. I don't know if I should add, you know, a couple of patches here and there. I think when it comes to like any amigurumi and adding extra details, it's very much a balancing act. I find with some patterns they benefit from those additional details, but I find in other cases that adding the details sometimes just makes the piece look too busy. So I don't know if I want to go ahead and do that right now. If anything, I might add a belly patch, but I don't know. But for now, Pip, you're staying as you are, and you can sit there and watch over us while we do. And today's featured creator on the hookup is WitchCrafting. And she says, "My name is Heidi, and like many, I used my free time during lockdown to finally start my little craft business, WitchCrafting. I started out with knitting at about 7 years old and became somewhat of a hobby collector, with my favorites being crochet and making macrame beaded bracelets. I'm so happy to now be doing what I love with the support of my amazing fiance, and super excited to be attending my dream market in August." Now, because getting through the hookup list is a slow process because I only do one per week, that dream market was probably a little while ago. But despite that, I hope you had a fantastic experience there. If you'd like to check out all of WitchCrafting's links, they will be down in the description, and so will link to the hookup form if you would like to try it for yourself. Before we go here today, where did I put the other kit? It's under some stuff down here. Before we go today, if you have any suggestions for challenges or something that I can do with this kit, please let me know down in the comments. I mean, I could always do something similar to what we've done today and just like recreate this but do my take on it. But I would like to mix it up a bit, you know, do something a little bit different. So if you have a suggestion for that, you know where to pop it. And I'll pop you back down there. Thank you very much for watching today. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Share it if you think it's worth sharing. And I will see you in the next one.